So the question is the referral process, and are there any costs, and what can the clients expect from there?
It's a cost. Thank you. So it's a cost-free service. It's funded entirely by the community at this point. So the referral process is that you will contact Hayat House. We'll do an intake with you over the phone, and then we'll we'll determine at that point what the need for the client or the family is, whether it's case management or counselling, and then we refer it to the social worker or the psychologist. And at that point, they will come in, arrange an appointment. We'll do a comprehensive assessment and do a treatment plan with them. Treatment will entirely be based on the need of the client and the family. So clinicians will decide that upon initial assessment, how many sessions the client actually needs. From there on, depending on our capacity and obviously what the needs of the client and their family is, we can either continue with the sessions or we'll refer to other organisations, particularly because we don't do inpatient detox and rehab at this stage.
What programs are currently running at the moment?
We have case management and we've got counselling and information and referral.
What's the duration for the service that you provide per client?
Like I said, that will depend upon, normally in a typical counselling session, you do your 6 sessions. After the 4th session, you obviously will review, and then you review on your 6th session as well. Now that is discretional, obviously, because we don't know what the needs of the client is. It could be very minimal, or it could be an extensive period. Normally, I'd say, in the setting that I work, normally it'd be about 1 to 2 years of treatment. But then again, that's entirely up to the discretion of the clinician.
So there are many service providers in the community. What makes Hayat House unique or different from the other drug and alcohol services out there?
Do you want to answer?
One of the important elements or differences of Hayat House to other existing mainstream or cultural programs is its focus on the Muslim community. So there is a wide range of Muslims of different cultural backgrounds. So what we're trying to do is consider those cultural norms and deliver a health-based drug and alcohol services that targets them with their families in mind as well. I think that's important in being inclusive of family. And we do suspect, given our consultations with other health professionals, that this is a unique service that will be quite relevant for the Muslim community, because often when they do access mainstream services, they don't show a lot of confidence in conveying their personal issues in case they get judged, or they also worry about stereotype and discrimination and shame and guilt. So one of the recommendations when we've actually consulted with potential clients or drug users in different capacities is that they want something that is culturally and religiously appropriate so that they can feel comfortable disclosing as much information. And families also want a service where they actually are included in that service. So by adopting a culturally and religiously appropriate service, we are able to cater to the Muslim community in that particular area. And what is important is that even though we're adopting a religiously appropriate service, is that we're not negating evidence-based practice. We are making sure that evidence-based practice is at the forefront of our service delivery, but we're including the community reintegration model into Hayat House. And I think that is actually very important. Did you want to add to that?
Another question is, it's a very good service, mashallah, from what you guys are telling us. How are you going to raise awareness of the community? Because with the councils, with the refugee groups, for instance, there's a lot of the refugees coming in as well, and working with the Sydney Alliance at the moment. They are coming in with problems like this, which they need specific, Islamically maybe tailored casework and service that you're providing for this group. How are you going to raise awareness in the community, wider community, not just the Islamic, but the Australian community here in the Canterbury, Queenstown and June?
Okay, Nasreen, do you want to answer that?
So our aim, hopefully, after having this service provider launch, is to have another one where we can network with the community in specific, so we can raise that awareness within the Islamic community that we do have a service that focuses on both client and family family services. So that's our next aim. Majority of us also work. Part of our role is to I work within the health district across southwestern Sydney, so networking with other NGOs as well as public health, refugee health, and the obviously Liverpool Hospital and so forth to help network and create that awareness about Hayat House. So at the moment, what we've done is Hayat House is registered as part of the interagency committee across southwestern Sydney Local Health District. So a lot of the bigger NGOs like Odyssey House, Who's, and so forth already have a direct contact. At the moment, Drug Health Services also have Hayat House registered as part of their referral pathway. So any clients that come in will be referred. If there is specific need that they obviously from a Muslim faith, they'll be referred to Hayat House. A lot of the programs that I work with at the moment, a lot of them know and are aware of Hayat House. So after this launch, a lot of those pamphlets and business cards will be distributed to those clinicians who will then refer their clients to us. So hopefully with a lot of that happening, that we will eventually increase awareness.
Just last question.
Sure.
Because drug and alcohol is not only, the referrals don't come through in the core hours only, how are you going to accommodate 7 days a week, 24 hours? You can get a call any minute, How a client who's in need, say in the weekend, the middle, night or halfway, are you going to operate in core hours, or are you going to go?
At this stage, the initial stage, because we don't actually have a massive client load, we're just in the initial stages, we're only going to be working within the core hours, with the intention that if we do increase in terms of clientele, then we'd obviously look at our model again and see how we can fix that up. And if there is a need outside of business hours, then I think we'll take that into consideration.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Just in regards to the community, have you thought about, or do you guys run any educational programs, so maybe workshops or seminars targeting youth, or maybe even if, let's say, a group comes to your service, would you guys look into doing something like that?
Mustafa, the question? Yeah. Yeah. Do we run any educational programs in groups?
One of the things that we want to use to kind of separate ourselves from other service providers is making programs like that, right? So therapy is not only just tailored to the individual, it's tailored to the community, right? And part of what Hanan was saying earlier of us targeting families and including families in the therapy process will involve elements of us going out to the community and giving educational seminars, raising awareness about drugs and alcohol. Absolutely. Yani, you can't separate, and I said yani, and I said I was going to say yani, but now I've said it like 4 times. You really can't separate the both, because then you're not doing justice to the treatment model. You can't say, look, we're just going to look at you as an individual, divorced from everything around you. So yes, of course, absolutely, we want to and we need to incorporate groups, school-age children, people that are at risk, families, wider community. And inshallah, we've got plenty of scope for that, but it all depends on community engagement. So make dua for us, inshallah, that Allah gives us the tawfiq, inshallah, bi'iznillah, to be able to cater to that.
Just one suggestion for community development.
Yes.
You guys can do an interview on one path, because that's really now watched a lot. So they do the TV recording.
Yeah.
And then that's really good, because everybody's onto that. And radios as well. If you can utilize the existing radio channels, would be good. Just because, like you said, the ignorance and the not acknowledging that there is a problem, this would be a good chance.
100%. 100%. So just repeating that for the benefit of the viewers at home, engaging with media services like One Path, with radio networks to get the word out there, was a suggestion by the questioner, so I can initial you.
Yeah, at the moment, what I can confirm is that we have reached out to OnePath just recently in order to produce a video that can spread awareness about our program, because we are aware that a lot of young people and also older people are now on social media, you know, and watching YouTube videos. So we do hope to reach out in a culturally appropriate way to deliver that message, to invite them to our service so that they actually feel comfortable and accessing a service that meets their cultural and religious needs as well, and reaching out to families so that they can access our service as well, because we do realise that families will also be large consumers of our service, wanting to get education, information about how to best support their family in these difficult times, you know, because we do understand that these types of information is not readily available. And we're also going to be networking with GPs in the area, so general practitioners and doctors, you know, so that they're aware of our service, you know, that is available, and they can also make referrals to our service to both clients who do have drug and alcohol addiction issues, and also their families as well.
Yeah.
That's cheeky. Why did Hayat House appeal to me? I think it's really the opportunity to get to work with the Muslim community and make a difference. I've been a social worker for over 5 years, and I've worked with a variety of different community groups. So this has just been I guess a great program that I wanted to get involved in to make a difference, and having children of my own, setting a future for our kids, and I guess providing them with the right tools, skills and knowledge to guide them, inshallah, and make a difference. Yeah. Is there anything? Yeah.
So the question is, we don't have a detox program, and what's the success rate of just counselling and casework?
I think, having worked both in detox and counselling services, just because a client accesses a detox doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to relapse. I think the first point of contact for someone who has severe addiction would be to detox them, obviously, because no counselling service will accept them. And the alternative to that would be, if once they finish their detox, they end up into rehab, depending on obviously the severity of it. But if a client comes to you and only has smoked, say for example ice, a couple of times, then your initial instance would be to put them into a counselling service. So you will not give them a detox service. So part of your counselling sessions will be obviously helping them through relapse prevention as well as harm minimisation, with the intention of abstinence. Now, that's the model that we're going to look at. In the event that we get an influx of clients who come through with who require inpatient detox, I think what we would potentially do is refer them on to either the hospital-based have inpatient detoxes as well, so Fairfield, and within this LHD, Liverpool, Bankstown, and so forth, and then get them to refer them back to us for counselling services. So clinicians on Hayat House will not see someone who's intoxicated or under the influence, okay, because that's not part of what clinicians should be doing anyway. So your role is to actually help the client once they're actually been detoxed. And normally detox could take about 4 to 5 days, depending on what they've used and how often they've used. So the success rate of the counselling services is not dependent on whether they're going to get detoxed or not. I think the success rate of counselling services, it depends on engagement of the client and the clinician's involvement with them and their families. Does that answer your question? Yes. Yeah. Sure.
So have you had to ever make a referral to another detox program where the client doesn't come back to access your services?
I can't really comment on that because we have just started. So our services will hopefully start second week in October. So I can't really comment on that question. But from experience, in the past under New South Wales Health, there have been clients who've gone into detox, and then part of their discharge plan in consultation with the nurse is to then refer them on to the referring agency. So it could be Hayat House, it could be another program, it could be Headspace, and so forth. So it will just depend on the client and their engagement and their support. But there's been instances where clients haven't actually accessed services once they've gone to detox. The relapse rate for someone going into detox is quite high, and like I said, it always depends on the client and what drug they're addicted to. Because at the moment, as we all know, there's a bit of a hype in the media around ice, but from current research conducted, I think the biggest issue we have at the moment is still heroin and alcohol. So that's where a lot of our clients will be coming through.
And do you expect to be getting referrals through self-referrals or through other organisations? Like where do you
Both. Yep. So like I said, I mentioned earlier on as well, is that Hayat House is already now registered with the Interagency Committee. So part of that is now we're registered with them, and all the NGOs have access to our phone number. So the referrals can come either by self, by family, other agencies and service providers. Yeah. Yeah, of course.
So how would you work with a self-referral from a family member for another family member that doesn't actually want the service?
That's a good question. That has happened before. Under normal health regulation, you can't actually force someone to come and see you. So if a family member is calling on behalf of another person, then we really can't give them a service. So the client needs to give consent to get service. So even though it's a voluntary service, the client still needs to give consent. Even if we're looking at from an involuntary perspective, the client still needs to have some sort of an awareness that a referral has been made on their behalf. So that's what we're going to be telling a lot of our families as well, that it's nice and it's concerning on their behalf, but at the same time it's important that the client gives consent to be able to get services from us. Yeah.
And in that situation, would you then be like providing the person that's making the referral, trying to make a referral, like the information about
Absolutely, yeah.
Be able to sort of case manage that person?
Absolutely.
If they require it to sort of help the other person?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's the whole purpose of Hayat House, is to not only cater for the client but also for the community as well. And that's what makes us a little bit different from all the other NGOs that I've noticed within this sector, is that Hayat House actually caters for families. There's a few that cater for families, but they're very stretched. And with NGOs, they're very limited in terms of funds. So whereas Hayat House is willing to actually offer those services to families, and it's a family-centred approach.
Just to follow up then, what can a family expect when they come to Hayat House?
In terms of?
Well, if their child or a family member is not willing to engage, what can they expect from Hayat House? Yeah, what? Mustafa? Huh? Yeah.
So what sort of treatment?
Yeah, what sort of treatment? Yeah. What kind of support can the family receive? Yeah. Huh? Okay.
General knowledge is okay.
I really don't. I'd prefer not.
Okay.
I would prefer, yeah.
Yeah, give it to Mustafa.
So one of the things that they will get is the professionalism of the service. Yeah, we want to remain, we want to hold our integrity to what it is that we're trained in doing, right? So no one will be turned away from that regard, Jani. Everybody will receive the professionalism and the courtesy regarded to the service. If they're referring based on someone, on a family member, then if we don't have consent from that particular family member, then the best inshallah that we can do is provide the family with information and education about how to manage a family member that's going through these particular crises. And unfortunately, Yani, one of the things that we find, and there goes Yani again, and yep, one of the things that we do find is that when the family is not properly equipped with how to manage issues like this that arise in the home, it often results in more harm being done, right? And it often results in things being said that leave wounds that last a long time. All under the guise of, I love you and I care for you and I want to help you. And sometimes doing that without proper equipment, without proper resources, you're just poking a needle and just hoping for the best, Yani. And the thing is, though, that needle still leaves a mark, all right? And it hurts. And that's what we want to try and equip families with. The proper information, the way to deal with these issues. And Yani, touching on what I just said, there's a brilliant article that's written, and it was also based on some research. It's called Drug Addiction. It's your cage, or it's not you, it's your cage, right? And what this particular article looks at is, why is it that when people, for instance, go to hospital, or when people are in war, they're using drugs, right? When they're in hospital, using morphine, off you go, but you don't come out addicted to morphine, do you? You don't go out seeking its sister drug, heroin. Why? If drugs were just this chemical hook that latches onto your brain and that's it, I'm lost, I'm addicted, I can't do anything about it, why is it that people leave hospital not addicted to the drugs that they were receiving? And the research that's come out of that looks at support networks. When they left that hospital, what did they have set up for them? What did they go back to? What was there? What sort of support did they have? What networks did they create? And that plays a huge role in addiction, and not just addiction to substances, any addiction, right? And that's the model that we want to operate from. And that's why it's pivotal that we include families in this, inshallah. So what families can expect, is that support from us, providing the information and the education necessary, inshallah, to help them manage through this crisis and navigate through the issues, and to work, with evidence-based models to try and elicit intrinsic motivation from the client, right? In my experience working with prisoners and inmates and people that are on parole, it's always the extrinsic motivator. Yeah, you must attend treatment, otherwise you go back to jail. See, that's extrinsic. That's not coming from within the client now, is it? So what we want to do is we want to elicit that motivation, and we want to be able to equip parents to elicit that motivation from their loved ones, inshallah. Does that answer it somewhat? Yeah.
I think I'll just add to that. In terms of what families and clients can also expect from us, is that what we want to do is work from a health regulation policy and procedures. So under New South Wales Health, there's certain policies and procedures that our organisation or Hayat House will need to obviously abide by, primarily because we are a health service provider now. So what families, when they come in, and as well as clients will come in, will obviously be expecting their rights and responsibilities in us, or what their rights and responsibilities are as clients of our service, as well as clients in general. Accessing the health service, we will give them brochures, obviously information package. If there's information sheets on drugs and alcohol, we'll provide that to them as well. So they have that accessibility, and other contacts as well, where they can sort of find out information from what other services are available as well. So we'll have other referral providers as well that they can access.
From experience, a lot of the times why a lot of my clients use drugs is because of their families. Any other questions? Yeah?
Going back to the talk and saying about the stigma in the community about drugs and alcohol and all that, have you approached the imams to address this in their khutbahs, so they make a way of awareness within the community, rather than, we're going to all continue to say it's a stigma, we try to talk about it, we can do this. So maybe if it's never addressed in sermons, because majority of people will attend the sermons. So I think if you explain the situation to the imams and maybe they can address it.
Yeah. So the question is around stigma and why some of our community leaders are not addressing this issue. Yeah.
Start charging you guys.
Yeah. I remember when we first wanted to start looking at drug and alcohol issues within the Muslim community, it wasn't a topic that imams wanted to address because it was very sensitive, and there was this belief that if they prayed 5 times a day and came to the mosque and engaged with the community, that all would be resolved. But I think that we've come a long way from that 10 years since, where the imams themselves face seeing families who are struggling, who have family members who have drug and alcohol addiction issues. So they do see that this is a growing problem. And yes, they haven't really touched on it in a big way in their sermons and khutbas. And that, yes, that needs to change. And I think that as we get our service up and running, part of our objectives is to consult community leaders and imams and let them know about the issues and the services that we actually provide, and to potentially provide them some resources to be able to convey during their khutbas. I think also what's important is that, you know, although there's a lot of brothers who attend Friday sermons, for example, there's a lot more who don't, you know, and so by reaching out on social media is one of those other mediums that we're going to try and seek. So because those who are addicted to drugs, you know, their first point of call is a lot of times not the mosque, you know, but accessing the imams will be very important in terms of speaking to community members and speaking to family members who may have families who are struggling. So raising that awareness so that there is no stigma. And that's why one of our main approaches is community reintegration, because our responsibility as an ummah, as a community, is to service the needs of our community. And we do have to provide, you know, health services to our community, and drug addiction services is one of them. So we're trying to, with confidence, bring out these issues to the forefront, outrightly to the community, and ask the community to respect the service and to actually use and engage and adopt the service within their organisations, promote our services as well, and so that the stigma is reduced, you know. And so because I know also, for example, in my many years of working within the Muslim community, we do hear stories from mainstream service providers who say, we do have Muslim clients to access our services because they're too embarrassed, or there is a stigma, there is that guilt, there is that shame. You know, it's because that we don't have a service. You know, and when you speak to Muslim clients who have accessed that service, they say, we want to feel comfortable. We do want a Muslim service. When we piloted the 12-step program for the Muslim community for men who are on probation and parole, or who were released from prison, one of the main commendations they gave us was that, where were you 10 years ago when we needed this? Where were you 5 years ago? Because they actually felt comfortable being in an environment with other Muslim males who struggled, who may have similar, you know, issues within their families, within their community. So they also want to feel a sense of belonging. So this is what Hayat House is trying to do, you know, is although there are religious prescriptions around drug use, we prefer to look at our clients as addiction sufferers, you know, rather than just drug users, so that we can assist them and guide them towards recovery and treatment, inshallah.
And can I add something to that? One of the things that I'd like to add to that is just to address the underlying premise in that question. So that imams are somehow talking about it in their khutbahs and, you know, running lessons about it, but I need to face the truth that they don't know, you know? And this is why we want to pursue them, and they are part of our community as well, and we want to work as an arm of the imams, right? We don't want our imams to be the one-stop shop for all health-related concerns, you know. I'm having problems with this, let me go to my imam. I'm having issues with this, you know, let me go to... If you had car problems, would you go to your imam, or would you go to someone that specialised in that field, right? And this is what we need to really promote. And I know that's not the question you were asking. I know that. It's a perception that exists within the community, and your question is trying to bring that out.
You're on the other side to be the preventative rather than
Absolutely.
you're on the other side, you're on the
Yeah.
receiver. So when
Yep.
it happens, you
100%.
handle it. But we want to make awareness
Absolutely.
to the families, and, you know, like through your education. to the
Inshallah.
parents. So
Yeah.
we stop it before it happens.
100%. Focusing on prevention rather than cure, yeah. And that would be a great objective, but we need people properly equipped. We need people to be sent to the correct services. We need people to get the proper information and education about how to deal with these issues. I'll share a story that no one here will be able to identify of a person that was dealing with addiction. So he went to his local sheikh, and the sheikh said, you know, all you have to do is just read the Quran in the depths of the night and, you know, wake up and make sure you pray Fajr. Oh, but sheikh, I'm already doing that. Yeah, that's beautiful from a spiritual point of view, but I'm dealing now with a health issue. How can I address this from a health issue? The sheikh is not equipped to answer that question. And the sheikh needs to be able to say, I can't help you. You need to see these people. You need to be able to go that. And that comes back to the sheikh as well. Don't be afraid to say, no, this is what you need. This is what you need. Rather than try and take on the answer to that question. Because that can cause harm as well. And it has in the past. So we want to be integral to the Muslim community, and we want to work as professionals in our field, and let everybody else work as professionals in their field. And as you know, اسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون. You know, go ask the people that know if you know not. And that just doesn't extend to, you know, the religious sciences. It extends to all knowledges. So that's what I'd like to add.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we were having a discussion about this quite some time ago, is that not so much this year because we've got a few things on, but next year we'll be looking at employing volunteers who actually want to be a part of Hayat House, obviously with necessary certification or qualification, because drug and alcohol is a specialised field, and there's specific therapeutic models that we sort of use as part of our intervention with clients. So yeah, definitely, that's one thing.